So if you want to be a real estate investor, come closer. Today's episode is totally for you. Everybody looks at the idea of being an investor, being a real estate investor, and you hear all the glam, the hype, the fun parts of how it is that people tend to be real estate investors, how they make money, how it is that, they go from having 5,000 naira, for example, and then tomorrow they have 10 million naira. What about the journey in between? What about all the emotions, all the things, all the preparation that they have to go on, the things that they have to learn, the things that they have to do in between? People hardly talk about that. But today, I'm going to break that jinx, because these are things that you need to know so that you don't go in blindly. Yes, it can be a profitable journey and a surgeon and a goal for you to want to be able to overcome and achieve for yourself. However, if you go into it blindly, you will probably, very probably, high probability, end up in a position where you're like, no, is this what I knew that real estate investing was all about? Or is this what it truly is about? And you will doubt your choices. And that is not what you need to be able to do. You need to be able to go in knowing why, how, and where it is that you're going to end up on the other side of the equation. My name is Lerato Lekena-Okoro. I'm a real estate broker, investor, and advocate based in Lagos, Nigeria. And every week I try to drop videos on interesting topics, insightful topics that you, as someone who is looking to invest in real estate, already investing in real estate, and wanting to create wealth through investing in real estate, will enjoy. So let's get started. Now, you may have heard this and you may have thought, oh, I know about it, but do you really know about it? And this is market knowledge. Now, market knowledge, I tell my clients to say, it goes farther than knowing that a land or a property is supposed to cost XYZ, a certain amount of money, for example. And it can go as deep as knowing, oh, people are migrating to this area, and that is what then will make that property to change in value. Now, how do you get market knowledge? You essentially get market knowledge by following information. You follow the news. So if you're somebody who hates the news, or you hate keeping up with the times, then that has to change once you decide that you want to become a real estate investor. Because literally everything, policies, actions, reactions, concepts, initiatives, they all factor into how a property is going to either be appreciative, or it's going to dull, or it's just going to play too. I'll make a typical example. If you're based in Lagos, you would have heard about the Lekki Free Trade Zone. You would have heard about the new Lagos and all of that. Now, if we remove all the hype around the new Lagos, because what is hype, to be honest? Hype is when you have a whole lot of people, not one, not two, not three, but you have a whole lot of people talking about a particular thing repeatedly. So now let's remove the hype of the new Lagos, the Lekki Free Trade Zone, a.k.a, and all of that. Let's remove all of that hype and say, what exactly are the driving forces that are making that place to seem attractive, such that attention is moving there? Now, the first thing that you want to be able to assess for that area would be the fact that there is development that is going on in that area, development that is commercial, which means that people will have to move there for work. So there's a popular saying in real estate that says, if you want to know where to invest, look for where the people are going to, so that you get there before them, and then they will come to you when they need to buy the property. Now, that's a very true strategy. It's a very true position to take. I think that it's one of the smartest things to think about when you want to be a real estate investor, because the trick to being able to maximize your profit or your returns on real estate investing is when you go in and you buy cheap, you buy early. So as an investor, when you know that some level of commercial development, some level of commercial attention, which would force people to move because they have to go and drive and feel that development to make it happen, then you will know that people will need to have some place to live, to work, to do their own business, to socialize, and just have a better time. Another thing to note is the fact that opportunities would always follow such initiatives or such times, where you are then going to find people who are saying, oh, I want to go into the area and provide XYZ service. Being able to provide the real estate, because remember, real estate is the basis for literally everything. So being able to provide the baseline product or asset that all of these things can layer on will then become your own advantage. So you see how having a deeper understanding of market knowledge actually plays to your advantage, in the sense that you can think through what it is that is actually driving the attention, which is driving the viability, which is driving the economic growth that is going to fuel everything that makes real estate what it is. Now, the next thing that you have to learn to do. Now, note, these are things that I'm saying you have to learn how to do, not just because I'm saying them, but these are things that will help you to become a much better investor, even if you decide to try it out for yourself, or you decide to work with a realtor or a broker or a strategist. So the next thing that you need to learn how to do would be financial analysis. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. So it's very easy for us to say, you invest today and you're paying ₦1 million for a house, for example. And then in 5 years that you expect that house to be 10 million naira. Now, even though a lot may be unknown when you're buying it, but the truth of the matter is that you who's going to go into the market and you're saying that property has to become 10 million naira, or it has to be able to give you 10 million naira in income in a number of years, for example, you also have to understand how you ensure that you're going to make that 10 million naira. So again, let's paint a scenario. You take a property and you say you're going to use it for rent, because that's going to be the easiest way that you will do that long term. You have to go do the market analysis to say, how much is it that people can earn as rent? What are the things that you can add on to the property or add into the property that would give it more value and make people either pay you more or pay you more consistently? So, but this is just one of the things that you can do to basically understand your financial analysis or your projections. Now, another thing that you could be looking out for would be, if I have invested 1 million naira in year 1, and I am being told that in year 5, I am going to have earned 10 million naira, for example, then how much financial sense does this truly make? Financial analysts will tell you that, oh, you should make sure that your returns are higher than what the inflation rate would be. That's very true. However, with property, your returns that you will get from cash are not going to be the only returns that you would be getting from that investment. And I'll explain. Cash returns are but one of the benefits that real estate investors accrue. The most important one that a lot of them that have been successful look out for is the value appreciation on the property itself. So yes, the cash flow is important because they can keep making money in between. They probably even get money to be able to pay for bills or pay for the mortgage if there was a mortgage on the property. But then the value of the property in the end would be the biggest thing that they would look out for. People have built their portfolios not necessarily on the cash flow, but also on the value of the property in the end. And then a parent says, I am building this portfolio of property because I want my children to be able to have a whole asset that they can either decide to sell or remortgage when I die to be able to take care of their bills. I don't want my wife to need to work or hustle or stress over money because I am building a portfolio that will be able to care for her needs or the needs of the kids and all. So these are things that you need to be able to think about, like open your mind and think about and say, how are all of these things going to tie in for me? And when you do that, chances are that you are going to be a more strategic, a more intentional, and a more determined real estate investor, because you will go into your investment options knowing what it is that you want to be able to achieve long term and what it is that you want to be able to do with the property as time goes on. Another part to financial analysis that you need to be aware of and you need to be able to track would be the fact that you need to understand your numbers. As an investor, you need to be able to track, log, document every single thing. From acquisition cost, how much does it cost you to actually acquire the property? Because remember, the cost of the property is not just the price, but the price plus the different fees that you have to pay to ensure that you are completing the transaction, which would include legal fees, agency, brokerage, taxes, all what's not, and all of that. So you need to be able to document, capture all of these so that you have an accurate total, which would be your cost of acquisition. Now, if you're going to be doing a property, you also need to be able to understand your management costs. You need to be able to understand your tenant placement cost. How much does it cost you to get a tenant? How much does it cost you to get a tenant out? How much does it cost you to do up the property after the tenant has left? Because if you are not tracking all of these, you will just find that you are running a property and the property is running you. Because when the property is running you, you will just keep spending money and you will then say, where's all the money that I made? So you need to be able to think holistically about everything as relates to financials, because if you're not making money, then are you an investor? That's the question. Now, this point I particularly like, because this is one thing that a lot of you ask, and sometimes it seems like we push it under the carpet. And this is, what risks can you fall into or fall victim of when you want to become a real estate investor? Now, if you follow the process of acquiring real estate properly, where you do your due diligence, you do your analysis, you do your estimations, you look at trends, where is it people are going, what is it people are doing, what is it people are buying, then chances are that you have, to a very large extent, mitigated, reduced your risks. Now, does this mean that your investment is 100% risk-free? No, because no investment is 100% risk-free. One policy can change the risk factors for what it is that you have invested in. One market tip or factor, or even just an incident, may change whether people want to go to location B over location A. You may just find that that one thing that may happen is going to totally change the analysis or the outcome of your investment. However, does that mean that your investment was wrong? No, it wouldn't. But if you can ensure that when you are acquiring the property, that when you are analyzing whether the property has a need and whether it is that you can make sure that you remain price competitive, market competitive, and you are what we call a product market fit, which means the product is wanted, the market needs you, and the market can pay for it, then you are going to at least know that you have, to say, a 90% achieved a risk-free investment. With all of these things, there would almost always be instances where people who are new into the industry or people who are new with real estate investing would say, but I am not 100% convinced, so I am not sure that I want to go forward. Now, what do I say to people like you? I would say your fears are valid. Your concerns are valid. However, life itself is a risk. Would you say that because you do not want to get into an accident or you don't want to be hit by a car that you would say you would not go out? No, but you will want to ensure that you as an individual have protected yourself to the best of your knowledge and your capacity, which is why I am advocating that you as someone who wants to become a real estate investor should be able to get as much knowledge as you need and as you think is available in the market before you get started, as you are on the journey, and as you continue to grow in your real estate prowess. Now, what does that mean? It means that education, it means that seeking knowledge, it means that seeking information should always be a watchword. You're not going to, in this time, become that person who just sits at home and you say, oh, it's taken care of. You can't be that person if you want to be a real estate investor. You need to be able to network. You need to be able to get into places, circles where other real estate investors are and they are having conversations. You ask questions. You can't be afraid. You have to be able to ask the questions. You have to be able to say, this is my experience. What do you think about it? This is what I'm thinking of doing. What do you think about it? And the reason for that is not that you are putting yourself out there for, oh, you want to become a mark, but no, you're putting yourself out with these people that have similar interests to say, this is how I see this, but how do you see it? Because multiple perspectives may confuse certain people, but if you can sit down with all your base knowledge, then chances are that you are also going to become a smarter investor. Now, after you've dealt with your the personal aspect of your risk management, you would then have to deal with the risk management factors as relate to the property. Now, you've gotten over your mindset and you've said, okay, I want to move forward with this. Now, what are the things that you can also do? Other things that you would want to do to manage your risk would include having contingency plans. So you make plan A, and plan A is what you're implementing, but you also know that you have plan B, you have plan C, just in case one plan doesn't work, which is normal. Next thing would be ensuring that you have a contingency buffer. Always have some amount of money that you can have somewhere. We call it miscellaneous. A lot of us call it miscellaneous, but you just make sure that you always have a contingency buffer. So you have that money somewhere and you can always just use it for things that will spring up intermittently as time may go, so that you are not going to be caught, quote unquote, and stranded when it is that you're actually in the process of using your property. Another thing that you should also look to doing would be to diversify your portfolio. And I'll explain. If on one hand you are buying lands that you're saying you are land banking, so you're buying lands and then you're leasing them out and you're saying you want the lands to be for the future, right? You can also go into development where you are financing developments for profit and then you are pulling out. You can also consider having certain units that you are using for cash flow. So you see, you've gone into 3 different aspects or areas of real estate investing without actually keeping yourself in one bucket. You're still a real estate investor, but you're doing different things that will yield in different ways, bring you returns in different forms and in different timelines. Now, as a real estate investor who also wants to consider diversification, you can also consider diversifying your client, your target clients. So if in location 1, you're dealing with students, In location B, you're dealing with workers. In location C, you're dealing with migrant workers. Now, what benefit does this bring to you as an investor? Again, it brings you multiple ways, multiple times, different timelines that it is that you can use to earn money. If in location A, you are able to get clients who are renting your property 7 out of 10 times, and in the hostel, you know that students are in school for 9 months of the year. You know that 9 months of the year, you are going to be earning rent from students. 3 months of the year, your property is closed, you use it for maintenance, or you even just use it to, you rent out to people who are in need of it at that point in time. But at least you know that you are guaranteeing yourself of income for a longer period of time than not, as against if you're just going to be in one form of real estate and you're not in another form of real estate. Now, how does all of this tie into you who wants to get started in real estate and you do not want to get your feet burned, or you don't want to, totally lose your mind and say, where do I go? What do I start with? How do I go about it? One way that I tell people that you can get started is to look to co-investing. Now, co-investing gives you the safety net of going in for one type of real estate without, one, putting in too much money, two, exposing yourself to too much risk, because one, you're not going to be alone, two, you're going to be with other people, three, somebody like me has very probably done all of the analysis for you, and we have opted in to ensure that we are also going to manage the process with you so that you're earning, but we're doing the work, and you can learn as you go on the journey. So if you're considering getting into real estate, these are some of the key things that you should look to doing. This is one way that you can get started, and I hope that if you have questions, you will drop them down below. So if you have gotten to this part of the video and you have not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications bell, and drop a comment to say, I'm in, I want to know more. Even just drop a topic in the comment section and we'll see what we can do about it. Till next time, adios.